Good morning, y'all. Welcome back to the Piney Woods Homestead. I've got a bit of canning to do today, so I thought I'd take y'all along. The first thing I'm going to do is make some blueberry syrup. We've got some blueberry bushes here that are slowly starting to produce, but one of our neighbors has an abundance and always brings us about a gallon a season. So between what he brought and some from ours, I'm going to make some blueberry syrup. Normally I do jam, but I want to change it up a bit this year. And the first thing we're going to do is extract the juice from the blueberries. Now you could do this a traditional way, throw them in a pot, mash them, and then let them strain in a jelly bag or through cheesecloth. But this I purchased last year, and it has made doing jellies, it paid for itself the first batch. And if you're from the South, this is not what you think it is. It is a juice extractor. And so all we do is put water in the bottom, and we'll get it up to a boil here in just a bit. And then your fruit, whatever you're using, grapes, blueberries in this case, will go here, and it will steam extract all of your juice down into the bottom here. And the recipe I'm using for the syrup comes from the Ball Home Canning book. The recipe is in this book, as well as one of the just regular Ball blue books. I highly recommend that you have one of these for canning. The only difference between these two is this one just has a lot more variations and recipes, but it's got everything from pressure canning to water bathing, and so that's what I'm going with. And the recipe says to use 8 cups of berries. And I've already went through and got them washed and made sure there's no stems. And the way this will work, once the juice gets down in here in the bottom, it has this hose. And I'll just set a pot on this stool, and it will drain out all of your juice. And none of this will go to waste once we get through cooking these down. The pulps I'll give to the chickens or to the pigs for a little treat. And I may actually put them in some ice cube trays and freeze them, because it's still blazing hot here, and that would be a good treat for the chickens. And I'm canning outside again today. Not technically on our gas cooker, because I'm not pressure canning. I could use my traditional granite type water bath canner, but I like using this one. It's going to take less propane. It's electric. It heats up a lot quicker than a boiling water one. It's still going to boil your water, obviously, and this was made by Ball. I've had it for probably 6 or 7 years now, and it doesn't heat the house up as bad as if we water bathed on the stove, but it still is going to put out that steam and heat. So we're just going to sit it out here and sit it on this, because this is a flat surface, so everything's good and sturdy, and water bath in the electric canner out here. And this is actually a multi-use pot. You can use it to steam. Like if you're doing, say a bunch of vegetables to steam, to freeze or whatever, or just for meals. And it's got a steam fill line. It's got the little rack that you use to sit your jars on. And then for canning, I will go ahead and I'll fill it up a little bit further, because we're going to want the water level about 1 inch above the jars. And then when you get ready to can, you just sit this on top of the jars, and that keeps the jars in place, and you put the lid on there. And the really good thing about this is you don't have that great big heavy pot of water to move to the sink to drain outside. It has a spigot on the side that you use to just drain the water out when you're done. It's plugged right now, but once the water cools, you can pop that plug, use this part right here, and drain it out. And this is what you want to start looking for. You'll see the juice is slowly starting to come out here. And it has this clamp to keep most of it, but it is dripping just a little. And I'll take and you can see how much they've already steamed down. These have been steaming for about 30 minutes now, and I'm gonna let them go probably just a little bit longer. As you can see, they're getting about all the way steamed down. Still a few berries in there. That's how much juice. I don't know if you can get down in there and see or not. And this recipe says it makes between 3 to 4 pints. So it's not going to be like a massive amount of juice from 8 cups of berries. But you're going to get more this way by steaming it than you would cooking them and breaking them down and then draining them through a jelly bag or cheesecloth, which is another good thing about this. And it's a whole lot easier. And I'll just go ahead and... Alright, it's been 45 minutes and the berries look like they're cooked down as far as they're going to go. There's no really whole berries left in there. A few here and there, but not really. And we'll see.
Oh yeah, you got some juice?
Yeah. Alright. So I'll just let this cool off enough for me to handle a little better and pour. Because it's not quite above, this is such a big pot, it's not quite above the drain tube. It's already drained out what was to that level. So I'll let this cool enough to handle, and then I'll just pour this juice into the pot with the rest of it. Now I've got my jars washed. I've got 4 here because the recipe says between 3 and 4. And I've got the canner outside heating up. And what I do when I know it's not going to make a full batch is I go ahead and put empty jars, fill them with the water in the canner so that the canner is full and you don't have to worry about with the movement of the boiling water canner that your jars fall over. But these have been sterilized in hot water, and then I'm going to put them in the oven and heat them to 225 just to keep them really hot, and then I'll get onto the syrup. And while I'm waiting for the canner to heat up the rest of the way, I'm going to go ahead. This is what we do with all the eggs that we have, because we get anywhere, when it's not this hot, anywhere from a dozen to a dozen and a half a day. And we froze them scrambled, we have dehydrated, and we're also just freezing them whole in these silicone ice cube trays. And these are actually bigger than a regular ice cube tray. These are considered, I think, a whiskey cube. But they pop out really easy. And once I get these popped out, I say they pop out really easy. They do take a little bit of work. But once I get these popped out and into the freezer, then I'll clean these up and I'm gonna make some blueberry popsicles for the chickens. Now to finish making the syrup, the recipe calls for 3 cups of sugar and 4 cups of water. want to put it on medium-high heat and start dissolving that sugar. You want it to go until it reaches 230, which is why I have my candy thermometer there. I'll actually have to probably hold it down in there a little bit closer. And then once that's boiled, or up to 230, then we'll add the blueberry syrup or the blueberry juice and bring it back up to a boil and let it boil for 5 minutes before we can it. So I've got the blueberry juice in there, and I'm just propping the lid on there so that it doesn't get condensation on it, but helps get it up to a boil. Once it's up to a rolling boil, we're going to boil it for 5 minutes, and then it'll be ready to go in the jars. And y'all, this has been, it's on the last few minute countdown here, and I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And what the lemon juice will do for the blueberry syrup is it's going to bring out that berry flavor and kind of cut on the sugary sweetness of it. And that's done. And you can use fresh lemon juice or bottled, either one. I'm just going to dump that in there. And give it a good stir, and now we're ready to get it in the jars and get it outside into the canner. And once you've got it in your jars, you just want to take a cloth with some vinegar on it and wipe the rim really well so that you get a good seal. And this is supposed to be a 1/4 inch headspace, but it's just a bit under. And y'all, if nothing else, if this gets too thick in the canning process, you've just got blueberry jelly. But hopefully it's going to stay blueberry syrup. That's the goal. Hot, 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 hot. Have to scoop some of this water out because I've got it just a little bit too full. Well, maybe not. And once we get this up back to boiling again, the process time is 10 minutes in this canner, as well as any type. It's just 10 minutes for water bath canning. And I just took, just like a regular water bath canner, take the lid off for about 5 minutes. And then you'll take your jars out. The first thing I have to do is get this. This is the only downside to this is to get this grate off the top. And I've got the jars in here covered up, and I'll let these sit here till tomorrow just so that it doesn't, nothing bumps the jars. They're sealed. You should always let them sit for 12 to 24 hours. But I was just telling Matthew, I went back and looked at the recipe, and it actually says 3 pints. So because we used the juice extractor, we were able to get an extra pint of syrup. And it doesn't say in the recipe how much liquid you should get when you do it by that recipe, which is just using a damp jelly bag. So it doesn't change the proportions of how much sugar and water. So I'm pretty excited that we got an extra jar and had a lot less work than if we'd have been mashing blueberries and waiting for them to drain. And now, because my canner is still, the pot is still got hot water in it, I don't want to waste that, and I had another recipe to do, so I'm going to go ahead and get this done. This is a cherry tomato salsa, and you can see we've got 2 different varieties. This is a cherry and then a grape, and some of our peppers, our onions, and a few more hot peppers. So I'm going to get all this chopped up, get it cooked down, and then I'll get that in the canner. I went and rocked one more. Maybe one more. Now I've got everything chopped up. This is 7 cups of cherry tomatoes chopped, 3.5 cups of peppers. It says Anaheim. We don't grow Anaheim, so bell and poblanos are very similar in taste. So that's what's in this. And then 1.25 cups of onion. The only thing that's going in this that we did not grow ourselves is the garlic, and we don't grow garlic, so I have some minced garlic that is, I think, 3 cloves worth. We're just going to dump it in a pot and get it bring it to a boil. Oh, and 2 medium jalapenos. And you can leave the seeds in or take them out. We like things spicy, so the seeds are staying in. And this is not a recipe out of the Ball Cannon book. This is one that I found online. But don't just go willy-nilly using anybody's recipe online, because there's a lot of people that just like to experiment, and yeah, jars will seal, but it doesn't mean they're safe. This website, the lady is a master food preserver, and she's actually written canning books, so she knows the exact science with the acidity and everything you need to properly can so that you're not going to get botulism or anything like that. And I'll try to have Matthew put the link to her website, so if you want to check her out. And now, let's see, the cup of your citric acid, which is what you need for canning, will be this cup of apple cider vinegar and a 1/4 cup of lemon or lime juice. Either one will work, but it must be the bottled, because the bottled is guaranteed to be at the right acidity versus what you're going to get from a fresh squeezed lemon or lime. And you're going to want to bring it to a boil on medium-high heat. And once it gets to a boil, you're going to turn it down to a simmer and let it simmer for about 10 minutes, and then put them in your jars. Alright guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. I've got this last round of canning going, which is the SALSA, and it'll process for 15 minutes. And then I'm done for the day. But thanks again for hanging out. Thanks for watching our videos. Subscribe if you haven't. If you have, we appreciate you. And give us a like, share with your friends. Y'all have a great one. We'll see you on the next one.